The networking and social media dilemma I think of as wrestling with my relationship with networking, social media, and content, as well as getting a better understanding of who I am, what I want to do, who I want to be with, where I want to go within the business ecosystem in the market that I care about. It became very important for me to understand the nature of that relationship in this pandemic environment that we went through a few years ago and continue to evolve it as things change. I look at it as surfing the waves of change. And that's the work for me. It's how do I surf the waves of change so I end up where I want to go? And often I don't know what that is specifically, but I've got a general guidance in terms of a direction. And my job is just basically, you know, don't screw it up. And the idea of the networking and social media dilemma. And I was thinking of The Social Dilemma, that movie or documentary, The Social Dilemma. And I didn't watch the whole thing. I only needed about 20 minutes. And I was like, okay, I get it. I get it. I get it. It's about my relationship with these systems, not the systems themselves, because it's got nothing to do with me. I don't work at one of those companies. I'm not in that industry. I don't want to be in that industry. And I certainly don't want those systems of any kind, social media systems I'm talking about, owned by technology companies, to be integral into my product in a way that at the core of my product, I lose control of my life. However, I want to use them to my advantage, and the work is figuring out how. And that requires me to do some experimentation in the marketplace because you can't do it on a whiteboard because I don't know. So I have to try things. And it takes me back years to how to find your way through what the society and the structures of the society. And that's always been the work. I think for me as an entrepreneur, doing something uh, that served me based on what I want in my life. And what that started out to be changed, and then it evolved, and it changed again. There was more car crashes. Those are called transitions, and then more collapses into the transitions, and then trying more experiments and doing what I started to think of now is, I've heard a lot of people talk about this, and it makes sense to me, is fail forward into success. The work becomes, how do I fail forward into success on my own terms so it's fun? And that's the hard part. And I look at it and I'm like, if I picked, my answer would be none of it. And we just meet at the coffee shop and I wouldn't do any of this stuff. Would I do any of the content? Would I put myself out here? Would I talk to strangers? No, I wouldn't do any of it. I just meet people I like to hang out with, meet them at the coffee shop, and work stuff out together. That's me. I work best in a pair, with partners. I work best with partners. I don't wanna do big stage stuff. I don't wanna work with groups of 5 or 10 or 15 or 20, and, I don't wanna be a content creator as a career. I don't wanna be an original creator of content as a marketing vehicle to get success for my businesses on my own terms. I don't wanna do it. But I spent my whole life doing those things because I needed to. And that's what the work is, I found. My first cold call started the ball rolling, and I remember it, and I couldn't wait. I was so excited. And I'm not talking about learning to network when I was in DC, and then later in Paris, and then back in Chicago. And I learned how to do all that. um, probably starting in middle school because I had to figure some shit out. What kind of job do I want? How am I going to make money? Do I want to work at the restaurant or do I want to work at McDonald's? And then that didn't work out. And I worked at Kmart and then I cut lawns and then I worked at Jewel bagging groceries. And like, what job do I want? I had to learn how to network, go get jobs. Uh, and then I can go on and won't go through the whole story. Um, but my first cold call started the ball rolling. And it was after I came back to Chicago after a couple years in DC, realizing uh, this isn't going to work. I failed forward. I realize now, I look back, I'm like, what the hell happened? No, I don't, I'm not confused about it anymore. But, I didn't want a, second place or third place or fourth place prize. I wanted the first place prize. And the first place prize in DC was you got to go to Georgetown Law School, you got to go to INSEAD in Paris, you got to go to Thunderbird. I mean, that was like the consolation prize. Go to Thunderbird Graduate School of Management in Phoenix. In DC at that time, this was in the 80s. It was like, you're one of those. Nah. The best. What's the cool stuff? Well, London School of Economics, SAIS, School of Advanced International Studies, John Hopkins. I took the State Department exam. I worked in the federal government for 3 months or 6 months, I think it was. My favorite job was the Omni Georgetown Hotel at the front desk. That was the best job of all of them. Everything I did, that was my favorite. But I met these incredible people like all over DC for a couple of years. And at a certain point, you realize, or I realized, wrong market, wrong market, go home. And when I decided to do it, the answer was, what are you, an idiot? We're in DC, Chicago. What? I can't remember her name. She was like 34. It's so vague. It's like, but no, it's not vague. It's just the details. She worked for the Department of Labor. She'd been a consultant. She had a degree in economics and PhD. I don't know. She had all this, you know, she was just, she's like, what? And I started hearing that from everybody. Like, what are you can't give up. Uh, yeah, time to give up. I'm not giving up. I wasn't confused about that. I'm like, I got to go back. This isn't working. It's the wrong place, wrong market, wrong market. And I had a friend I grew up with, a family friend. He took my path and he did it. He did every single thing I said I was going to do. He actually did it. I just started, but he stuck with it. Paul Simon's campaign. He worked on Paul Simon's campaign. I did too. And then he actually did the work and he stuck it out. I was gonna get a job on Capitol Hill. He did it, and he stuck it out. I was gonna go to, like, Georgetown Law. He went to Columbia Law. Then he went to London School of Economics. He came and visited me in DC. He did every single thing I was trying to do, and he succeeded. And then he, opened, big offices in, like, I don't know, Dubai and China for a massive law firm in Chicago. Family friend. I'm like, Why didn't I do that? It's what I wanted to do." I'm like, "What the hell?" It's destiny. That's not for me. If I'd done that, I would be really unhappy right now. I know exactly where I'd be. No, I have no idea. How would I know? I didn't do it. That's the point. I have no idea. My first cold call started the ball rolling, and I'm working for my mom, my dad, and my grandma. And my grandfather was still in this little business they had. And I'm like, I got to get out of here. So I'm back in Chicago. And I'm like, I got to get into Kellogg or Booth. So it used to be called Booth. That's Graduate School of Business. Or no, wait, no, it was called the GSB, Graduate School of Business. Now it's called Booth, University of Chicago. A normal person who accepts compromise and not doing what you really want would say, and people told me, go to Loyola, go to DePaul, go to Lake Forest College. Those are good schools. I couldn't do it. I'm like, no, it has to be the best one. So I'm like a maniac reading. I switched. I was reading International Herald Tribune every day. I was reading New York Times every day. I was reading Le Monde and Le Figaro every day, trying. My French is not that good, even though I lived there for a while. Not that I can't. That's hard to read. I can barely read the New York Times. Get it? But yeah, I try every day. And there's all these stores that have this stuff in Chicago. So I come back and I'm like, I'm on my same routine. I switched the diet. I switched the Wall Street Journal, Barron's, the whole thing. Got rid of the suits. I had the suits in DC. Suit up. Okay, I'll suit up. Not in Chicago when I got back. And I'm lonely. I'm not going to get too much into the personal stuff now, but that led to something, a marriage, first one, which was good for both of us, I think. But probably good. My first cold call started the ball rolling. I'm sitting in this what was called the showroom, and it's the back office. It's the back alley of this building that was full at the time. That's all. This entire industry's gone. It doesn't exist anymore. This manufacturing repping business, it's all gone, and that business led to success for me and everyone around me, actually. And I didn't do it myself. It was in the family. Worst possible thing I could think of. That was my last choice. Last choice. I did everything to get out of that business for 7 years, and I succeeded in the business, and I fought it every single step of the way, and because of that, I got to have a real life in Chicago when it was badass cool, and, there's parts that still are, I think. Actually, I know, 'cause I still live here, but not in the city anymore. I'm north of it. But it's amazing. Chicago's incredible. Nobody understands Chicago unless you lived in it for a while, and then everybody's like, "I hate Chicago." It's because you don't understand it. It's an experimental playground for people who don't fit in and immigrants. And, you don't have to be good. You can just do it because nobody's paying any attention to you if you're that kind of person. For other people, it's something else. It's, this is where I grew up, or it's the capital of the Midwest. So, where are you from? Michigan. Come to Chicago. Where are you from? Michigan. Michigan. Oh, you too? Michigan. Minnesota. Oh, you're a little different. They don't always come here. Michigan. Indiana. Yeah, yeah, of course. Wisconsin, sure. Well, Milwaukee's pretty cool. But yeah, I know. But I'm here because of schools. And we're going back. That's always it. We're going back. 20s, 30s, and then we're going back. We're going back. Now I'm talking about the white people. It doesn't even exist as a category. Now I know that from the Nahisi codes. Oh man, I'm getting way off track. I knew I was going to do this. I have to get back on track. This is how my mind works. I used to think this was a problem. I'm like, I'm never going to succeed in this content world because I think in circles. Not to me, but other people. Like, what did he say? Now where is he going? It's okay. My first cold call started the ball rolling. It led years later to create, I'm reading my thing now. It led years later to creating the most successful company in my industry. I did. No one heard of this industry. No one wanted to be in that industry. Children's clothing. Terrible. For me, like it was perfect, but I didn't want to do it. Working with my dad, it was great. Didn't want to do it. Working with my grandma, great. I learned so much from her about business. Didn't want to do it. Working with my mom, oh my God. I didn't want to do it. It worked. It worked. Timing was ideal because that call led to many other experiments. I don't remember the first one, but I got a big order from Carson Perry Scott's like a couple months into the job. I had no idea what I was doing. That was the point. And I remember I'm talking to my dad and I'm like, I'm not going to be here much longer. So I might as well do something useful. That was my attitude. And he's like, it's up to you. He was paying me, I think, 2, 3 grand a month and sample money, which is cash. My rent was $600 a month. I lived by the lake on the north side in a building with cockroaches and crazy elevator people. It's just crazy. It's great. And I'm trying to figure it out. And I don't think you could do this anymore in Chicago. I think you can. Of course you can. Of course you can. You got to do it your way though. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. And he said, I don't either. No, he said, well, he started routing me out. He said, why don't you try this? Why don't you try that? And I'm like, no, that's not going to work. And I'm looking around. I'm like, what's going on in this? What does this business do? See, I'm sitting there. I'm trying to figure it out. So I said, why don't we sell these stores? And he says, well, they don't buy from us. Why? It's too expensive. When did they see it last time? I don't know, 15 years ago? Something like that. Have you ever tried to hire somebody? Yeah, yeah. Mark didn't work out. These are real conversations. Mark didn't work out. Why didn't it work out? He got a map out. He's great at this kind of stuff. He's very methodical in his thinking. I'm the opposite. That's why it worked. And he was great with money. Don't put me in charge of the money. I've learned to be okay with money. I don't care about money. I just want to get enough so I don't have to think about it. I just want the bank account to be full and overflowing. Now I know about prosperity. So I know about overflowing, circulating money in the economy. I understand that now. I didn't then. But I did, actually. I was living that way. I just didn't understand that I already knew how money works. And it was great. He's like, he said, he showed me. He said, I told Mark to go here. He said, Milwaukee. He's going to go to Milwaukee, and then he's going to go here, and then he's going to go. And he did. And 3 months later, my dad fired. I don't know if he fired him or Mark quit. And my dad's like, doesn't work out. Didn't work out. And I'm like, why? He said, maybe we need a relative. He might have said that. It's something he could have said. I don't know if he said it. That was probably my grandmother, and I'm like, I'm one. I'm not going to do that though, because, that's not how I think. And what I did worked. And I made that cold call, and that started the ball rolling. And it became the most successful company in the industry of its type in this little weird, little strange niche that nobody cared about. There was nobody like me working in that industry in this region. It just, because people like me, would go to LA or I wanted to be Black Sabbath's next bass player, but I didn't know how to play the bass. I'm like, I'm going to New York. I'm going to LA. I'm going to Japan. Those are my plans. I'm going to Africa. People like me, I ended up working in my parents', I'll use the Jewish word, schmata business. Nobody did that. That had talent of any kind in the creative realm that was doing anything original. You'd find, like, become an economist or a professor, or did anything, lawyer, or better for me, it was rock musician. I tried. Didn't work out. I'm no Rick Rubin. I think his dad was he's a year older than me. I think his dad was in the footwear business. New York Jews. I'm of the Chicago variety. It's different. Not very attached to the Jewish. From small beginnings come thousands of future experiments. That's what happened. Tweaking the dials, noticing what works, and deciding when not to play was how my entrepreneur experiments led to success. Deciding when not to play, that was really important. And that's what happened to me with social media after a couple of years of experimenting. And I found the cool kids and I went right to them. And that was, well, it's a long story, but I'm just talking about this. What am I talking about again? Networking and social media. Yeah. So the networking and social media dilemma. So networking, got that down. Just decided I don't want to do it anymore. Social media, that was harder. And 2019, 2018, I kind of started with the content. Well, I started the Content Factory stuff back when HubSpot came out. And I thought, this is it. HubSpot. Everyone wanted to go to their user conference. And one of my clients, years later, when I started Call Sales Partners, really brilliant guy in the Bay Area, his name's Adam. And he's like, I'm going to start a HubSpot agency. He got right in. And I'm like, why? He said, so I can go to the conference. That's exactly how I think. I'm going to pay them just so I can go to the damn conference and figure out what the hell they're doing and talk to people and figure out what's going on in the market and go into what's next. Um, so I went down all those roads, lots of experiments. And I'm like, oh, this and this and this. And I mean, I can go on. The stories are there's too many. That's my problem. I can't speak in a straight line. I interviewed with Salesforce. I remember Mark Benioff in Chicago. He's right up on the stage, and I'm listening. I'm like, who the hell is this guy? And I'm like, oh, that's the cloud thing. That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, oh, I got to check that out. So I'm there. I'm at the user conference in Chicago. So I started networking. I got an interview right away. And the guy said, you have a sales process. Like, what the hell's a sales process? What do I need a sales process for? He says, well, we don't have one. He's so arrogant. And I'm like, it's not your company, buddy. It's Mark's. You work for him. Reminds me of the Nike sales reps back in the 90s. I was sitting next to one at a Brewers game when I was selling clothes in Milwaukee at a client, and we went to a Brewers game, and the guy's so arrogant, and he had the Nike swoosh tattooed on his ankle and cool sunglasses. And I'm like, you work for them. Don't be an asshole. I'm just trying. Like, don't be an ass. Like, oh my God, you work for them. He needed that. Now I have compassion. Like, I see it more. I'm like, he felt part of it. I didn't understand that. Some people need to feel part of things. It's to other people that's normal. I'm like, I don't need that. So to me, it's confusing. That doesn't make me bad. It just makes me confusing to other people. So I'm doing all these experiments. In 2020, there was a lot of great experiments to be had. I discovered Russell Brunson. Never heard of him. I'm like, what is this? This is a great idea. I went 100% in, all the way down. I was selling it on our street to neighbors. And they're like, oh yeah, we know who he is. He's the funnel guy, right? I'm like, yeah. Like, yeah, we know. We tried that. Like, yeah, but do it like this. My friend owned a neighbor owned a CrossFit gym. And I think he was just, okay, we're not following you. And I'm like, don't follow me. That's why my advice to people, don't follow me anywhere because I'm going somewhere strange. I'm going somewhere new. I'm going somewhere original. And I haven't figured it out yet. So don't follow me. Follow yourself. It took me a while to get to that where I can be useful with this stuff. Because I'm figuring something out new. What I'm doing is new. It doesn't exist yet. And giving birth to it. It's painful sometimes. But for me, it's not hard. It's just tweak the dials, notice what works, decide when not to play. 2020 was fun. I'm like, oh, the pandemic, that was great. No, it was family matters first. Our family made it. A lot of them didn't. And we made it and we got strong. But man, I did not put my family first. I put my vision first of fear. It was fear based of, I got to make this work. This opportunity is never going to come back. That's what I thought. I got to get in my business. I had a business already. I'm evolving it. I got to do it. It's got to make it work. Oh my God, what am I going to? That was my mentality. So I'm online. All of a sudden, this woman, Shay Rowbottom, shows up. I'm like, who the hell is this? What is she doing? Why is she everywhere I go on LinkedIn? There's this, and all of a sudden, I'm like, something happened here. I don't know what the hell it is. So I paid her $5,000. Let's split it in 2 payments. Sure. 2020, I show up. There's like 50, 60 people in the room. One of them's got a business. She dresses up like a mermaid. Another guy's got a big personality. This woman from like the UAE spoke, Dr. Nat. She's a German model. And I'm like, I'm screwed. This is never going to work for me. But I hung in there. Richard Moore spoke. I called him up immediately. I'm like, can we talk? I know why he was doing it. And he used, hey, I got a deal for you. on me. He doesn't need to use psychology on me. He told me what he was doing, and I'm in. I paid him $1,000. I'm in. How does this work? I got in. I started a circle community before him, and then he started a circle community. Um, but he made it work in a different way. Years before my thing is taken off, about to take off. I know it, and deciding on what that okay, I'm getting lost again. Deciding when not to play. Yeah, that was it. That was it. That's the point. I had to stop playing that social media game. I played it out. I failed forward into success. In early 2023, I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I get it now. I'm done. I thought, no, I got to get famous on Instagram first. And then I'll know how it works. No, I didn't have to do that. I already understood how it worked. I didn't need to do it myself. That's not the point. I'm never going to get famous on Instagram. I don't want to be famous on Instagram. That's the point. It's not going to work for me. That feels terrible to have to go through that. And I don't want to be famous. If you're famous, you get recognized, and then people want things from you. Fame is the worst part of creative success. It comes with the money. So it's like they're not complaining. They're just like, they have any bodyguards today. People are taking pot shots at them. They think they know them. The whole world's talking about these people they don't even know. It's really hilarious. But that's how the world is. I'm not going to change. Well, I can't change the world. That's the point, isn't it? How do we change the world? That's it. That's it. Let's change the world. We can. Why? Being ourselves. How? Find yourself. Find your own path. That's the original invention that I'm bringing into the world. It's find your own way. And it's not mine. That's the best part about it. I don't have to do everything. Because if you're following me into the storm at night, everybody's gonna die. And I'm not kidding, literally. I drove a boat, 70-foot ocean racing yacht, a cutter made out of steel, BT Global Challenge owned yacht, 11 amateurs, 2 pros across the North Atlantic in March. I drove that boat into a storm. I drove it. If I had to figure out where to go or how to get the sails tacked or any of that stuff, everyone would have died. I know what my skill sets are. It's not in all this other stuff. Great times. Force 12, Beaufort scale. That's Navy stuff. I love sailing. Terrible at it. Tip the boats over all the time. Go the wrong way. You don't want me driving a boat on a race course. People will get killed. I can drive that boat fast, though. But I can't handle all this stuff going on. Too much action. Those people who do that have that skill set. I sailed with them. Thank God they were driving around the race course and not me. I'm pulling lines, trimming sails. I'm good at trimming the main. That's the big one. Not the big one in the front of the boat, but this. All right, I'm getting off track. Know who you are. Do that thing. And you'll get what you want. That's called prosperity. It'll flows. And I look at what I'm doing and I'm like, I don't have to do all the jobs. I only have to contribute 1/34th. I get the numbers wrong. 1/36th of the product, the entrepreneur experience. 12 founding members, 12 founding ambassadors, 12 founding partners. I only have to do 1/36th of the product. That's it. Red Pill Pathway is my company. Red Pill Pathway sponsors it. That's my stuff. My private client and group. I hate to use the word coaching because the kind of people that I work with don't want coaches. I don't want coaches. We got coaches on the campus, though, on the entrepreneur experience product itself. I only have to be 130. I got the numbers right. 12 times 12 times 12. And there'll be more. We got Change Agent Board. There'll be more. Red Pill Labs, EntreX Forum. which is like TEDx without a stage, broadcast live off this video metaverse campus. Pick the right partner. Welo, Cliff, right partner is key. That's my relationship with social media and technology. This is, we're ending with this, is the social media dilemma is they can't be part of the product for me. I'm using them. I'll give you, you can have my, you can have my iterative experimental content and the abbreviated stuff. You can't have the deeper stuff that I've really worked through and honed and refined into steel. You can't have that on social media. Can't have it. It's not because of the money. It's because it can't be part of my product and because of the money. It's my intellectual property. You can't have it, social media companies. You can have my data and you can have my drafts for sure. Let's see. I got to finish. Deciding on what that meant took time, meaning success. What does success mean for me? I'll talk about a lifetime navigating the matrix of industry, networking, social media, and how to connect with strangers in 30 minutes. Success came inevitably when I played the know, like, and trust game my way, always, always my way. That's easier said than done when the chips are down. I've leveraged my next hand and the future is not clear.